Let's turn our attention this morning, however, to another big announcement yesterday. Of course, Joe Biden was doing victory laps. Even Bernie Sanders doing a couple after Super Tuesday. One not so fortunate after emptying at least the change in his couch cushions was Michael Bloomberg. He dropped out of the race. Joining us now, head of the Department of Government at Tarleton State University, we say good morning to Dr. Nathaniel Cogley. Dr. Cogley, thank you for joining me here in Memphis. How are you?
Good morning, Tim. I'm doing well, and Tennessee had something to do with Biden being the strong one and Bloomberg dropping out.
Interesting that he had such a strong, I don't know if you'd call it a firewall in the South, but Joe Biden did incredibly well across many of the southern states, and I can tell you on this station that Michael Bloomberg had dumped considerable amounts of money on advertising and trying to pick up a few delegates here, and it was all for nothing.
Yeah, and it wasn't going to be a surprise that Biden was going to do well in the South, that he might be first place in the South. But he won with, even a majority in some of these states. He also won some northern states like Maine and Massachusetts and Minnesota, and won Texas as well. So that was really a surprise. We see why Michael Bloomberg never ran in a Democratic primary in New York City. That he's always viewed that as very tough for him. He came in and said, as an independent, and said, make me the nominee and I'm your best matchup against Trump. But the party said, no, thank you. We want someone who's climbed our ranks.
It is an interesting dynamic over the last week, Doctor, because even right before the primary, we saw Amy Klobuchar drop out, Pete Buttigieg. And even before their home, before Amy Klobuchar even had a chance to compete in her home state, it's almost as if Joe Biden was able to orchestrate some sort of momentum even before Super Tuesday. And now it seems like that has snowballed, at least for a little bit for now.
Yeah, but this could be fleeting. Remember, Biden had momentum very early on. He was always leading in national polls. And we saw Michael Bloomberg yield to him a year ago, last March. He said he wasn't going to run for president because Joe Biden's running and there's not enough space for him. So it's kind of funny that a year later he's also yielding to Biden again. But again, Biden has not had a great campaign. He collapsed in Iowa and New Hampshire. He's had a nice week. If we remember the debate before Nevada, Bloomberg, that was his first debate, and he came under attack. And then the debate before South Carolina, the next week, it was Sanders who was under attack. Biden was not under attack. He was going off of people's radars. He had a nice week. He had okay debates, big South Carolina, and parlayed that in this huge Super Tuesday. And it's interesting to see the party rally around him like this is the one. But, he's gaffe prone. I don't think that he's a great matchup against President Trump. It's a good week for Biden. It's a good week for President Trump, I think.
Dr. Nathaniel Cogley joining us on Memphis Morning News, which then that really leaves, Elizabeth Warren is kind of hanging out there right now. Does she serve a purpose at all at this point, or is she kind of like in 2016 when you had John Kasich kind of lingering around just to kind of be a pebble in everybody's shoe?
Kasich, at least he won his state and then was taking those delegates to the convention, hoping it was a brokered convention as well, and then he could be part of the talk about, making a ticket at the convention. Yeah, so that seems to be Warren's strategy. You can imagine Biden and Sanders are kind of polarizing. Even Bloomberg was a little polarizing in terms of it's going to be hard for one side to get on board the other. It's going to be hard for the Bernie people to get on board the Biden or Bloomberg, and for their people to get on board Bernie. And she views herself as in the middle, as someone who may be able to unite the party because maybe the establishment can get behind her and the Sanders people can get behind her. But with Bloomberg dropping out, it makes the brokered convention scenario very unlikely. And at a brokered convention, even if it happened, they wouldn't have to pick Elizabeth Warren. I think it's tough for her. Any state where she's above 15%, she's helping make a brokered convention, but she only went above 15% in 5 of these states. So that means there was 9 where she was not above it, and those are kind of wasted votes, many of which would go to Bernie. And I think she's only 70. That's apparently young for presidential now. So in 4 years, she'll be 74. She might want to run again. She may not want to upset the Sanders supporters by, stifling his campaign.
I'm going to put my binoculars up to my eyes here for a moment, and let's look down the line. Is it a fair assessment to say that Bernie Sanders had best reach the threshold of delegates before the convention? Because if history is any indicator, from 2016, he ain't getting any, great grammar by me, by the way, he ain't getting any of the superdelegates.
Right. The superdelegates are party insiders, elected officials, members of the House, members of the Senate, former speakers, former majority leaders, influential people in the state parties. He did get a few. I mean, but, it's very low. It was like single digits in terms of percentages. The vast majority of these are going to go with whoever the establishment is rallying around in a coordinated effort. So, second round becomes that much more hard for him. I think if it's the superdelegates themselves that puts someone else over the top, that's going to be hard for Bernie to accept. But if it's the regular delegates, the pledged delegates who on a second ballot put someone else over the top, he'll have to accept that. But again, with Bloomberg dropping out, Bloomberg was helping create the broker convention by himself pulling in delegates, and now he's out. Elizabeth Warren is really the only shot at a broker convention. Unless enough delegates are already out there. I mean, there's 100 out there, so if you have almost even split, that missing 100 could cause a broker convention, but it's a slim amount.
Wow. And before we say goodbye this morning, are you looking forward to Bernie and Biden debating? And do you think Elizabeth Warren will stick around and maybe stick up for one of them?
I am looking forward to this debate because, now Biden's on top again. Now he's a target again, and Bernie's been ready to go on Biden for a while. I mean, with Joe Biden's voting record. So they're going to, have a, 77, 78-year-old showdown, and it's going to be very intense and, it'll be entertaining to watch. But Biden's now going to come under scrutiny, especially from the Sanders people. I don't know how long Elizabeth Warren stays in there. I mean, she may think she has a shot at a brokered convention, but it's very slim right now, and I'm sure she's having some practical discussions, reassessing, and maybe thinking 4 years from now is a better opportunity.
Interested to see if one of the candidates has gotten in her ear and made any promises in exchange for helping gang up on the other top two candidate at that debate. Should be interesting. But as you said, she's the youngest one at 70. I'm wondering if Cracker Barrel is going to be running advertising during the debate. It might be the perfect time and perfect demographic for them on that one. Dr. Nathaniel Cogley, always a pleasure to have you on here. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your insight. Appreciate you taking time with us today.
Thanks, Tim. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.